welcome to Dispatches from India, a show by People's Dispatch. In this show, we bring you major news developments from across the country. In this episode, we look at the arrest of a 21-year-old climate activist, the steep rise in fuel prices, and the latest in the vaccine rollout in the country and in the world. Our first story is about the arrest of the 21-year-old climate activist, Disha Ravi.
A 21-year-old climate activist, Disha Ravi, was detained on February 13th in the city of Bengaluru and was sent to police custody for 5 days on Sunday. The case against her has to do with grave charges such as sedition and criminal conspiracy. Disha, along with 2 others, is accused of being involved in a toolkit, which is a social media document spreading awareness on any particular issue. This specific toolkit had information about the farmers' agitation against 3 laws introduced by the Narendra Modi government. This agitation has been going on for close to 3 months now. The toolkit acquired significance when the renowned climate activist Greta Thunberg tweeted in the first week of February. Shortly after, the Delhi police launched an investigation and theories began to emerge that this document was part of some vast conspiracy by separatist groups against the Indian state. Lawyer Colin Gonsalves addresses this issue.
When there is no evidence shown to the court of her involvement in any crime, no evidence, I said, not just a story. A police may give you any story that they want to give you about Khalistan and all that, but it is the duty of the remand magistrate to ask, do you have anything with you today? Apart from your general theories and your general, fairy tales, so to speak, what is the evidence you have today? And remand magistrates are routinely making this mistake. You must insist to see the evidence before you remand a person. I'll explain this a little bit.
Sure.
You see, all over the world and in India as well, you conduct an investigation. The police does that. No problem. The police could have conducted an investigation against her, but they only arrest when they have a good enough docket of documents, proof, evidence that she is involved in some criminal activity of a serious kind. Now, this remand magistrate is going in the reverse direction. He's accepting the story and he's presuming that after 90 days when the police file the charge sheet, then some evidence will come up. But then if evidence is going to come up then, you can't arrest now. So it's a totally illegal arrest without any evidence requiring the custody of the freedom of a person to be.
Protests took part in various parts of the country against the arrest of Disha Ravi. Youth groups have particularly been shocked at how a young idealistic activist has been put behind the bars for being involved with a document with information about how to campaign on an issue. In the judicial proceedings over the past week, government lawyers have kept insisting it is all part of a massive international conspiracy, an argument that has been rejected by those standing in solidarity with her. A few days ago, students gathered in Delhi to protest the arrest. Here is a report from the students.
We are today here to protest against the arrest of a young environmentalist, Disha Ravi, and also to demand that all those people who have been arrested in fabricated cases, they should be released immediately. We are just here to tell the government and also to tell the Delhi police that you are not following any procedure. You are arresting people arbitrarily, not following any procedure which is there in the acts, which even the constitution mandates. And if you think, since you have the authority of the government, since you think that you have got the majority and you will do anything, will bypass all the laws, all the procedures, and then you think that the young people will get afraid and they will stop coming out on the streets and they will stop coming out in defense of their country and democracy, then you are wrong.
Our next story is about the soaring fuel prices in the country. Petrol and diesel prices have been rising in the country for the past many days. In some places, it even crossed rupees 100 per litre, that's US dollars 1.38. And in most cities, it has crossed the 90 rupee mark. This is despite the fact that global crude prices have in fact seen a minor dip in the past year. The reason for this is the huge taxes imposed by the centre and various state governments, which constitute a huge part of the cost of fuel. Senior economic journalist Anindya Chakravarti analyzes the ups and downs of fuel prices in India.
How is petrol made? Crude oil, which can't be used directly, is taken out of the earth's surface and then it is transported to refineries where it is refined and converted into different kinds of fuel. So there's petrol, which is very efficient, as we know. Then there's diesel. Then there are things like aviation turbine fuel used in jet planes. There is kerosene. There's liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, which comes out. There is Vaseline or white petroleum jelly, which we use, and it's also used in all kinds of cosmetics. There are various kinds of products which come out of petrol, and many of these products are then taken and through chemical processes converted into other products. In fact, all the plastics that you see around you, right? All the bottles from which you drink, maybe your computers, the computer frame, everything. Some way or the other, it's got some amount of crude in it. The car, not just the petrol that's going into your car or the diesel that's going into your car, many times the rubber in the wheels is actually crude oil based. Some of it could be crude oil based. The paints on your wall, that also comes from crude. So when crude prices go up, all these things tend to become more expensive, and obviously something like petrol, which is 100% coming out of crude, is going to get more expensive. But here's the interesting thing that is worth looking at. Prices of petrol and diesel that we're paying have gone up by 25, 23, 25, 28%, depending on which city you're in. But if you look at the price of crude that is being bought, comparing the same period, February to February now, it has actually gone down marginally by 0.3%, but it has still gone down. Now, the reason I'm saying that is, and I'm not comparing some random crude that is not used in India. I'm looking at crude that Indian refineries buy, which together is called the Indian basket of crude. And that basket of crude has actually more or less remained constant. In fact, as I said, it's gone down for about $54.80 to a barrel to $54.63 to a barrel. That's the change we've seen. Very marginal change, but still there's been a change. Now, despite that, why are we paying more, right? We're paying more because of a simple reason that in the COVID period, the government, both the center and various states, have increased the tax that they charge us. The center has increased taxes by 13 rupees, right? It used to charge approximately 19 rupees per liter of petrol, right? And it's an amazing amount of tax already. That has gone up to almost 33 rupees to a liter when we take petrol, and that alone is 37% of the total cost of petrol at a pump in Delhi. 37% of the total cost of petrol in a pump in Delhi is just central government tax. And in Delhi, VAT, which is levied by the Delhi government, is about 20 rupees 60 paise, 20 and a half rupees or so. And that is 23%. So together, these two account for 70% of what you and I pay at our petrol pump. In Delhi, 70%. Now, again, what is the government saying? The government is saying, look, there is no other way for us to raise money because things are selling. You know, GST has gone down. People have lost jobs. Their income has gone down. We have given big rebates to corporates. We've let them take big rebates on corporate taxes. We've given concessions there, so corporate tax recoveries are down. The only place we have is petroleum products, and therefore what can we do? And you'll see that excise duty in the last year has actually gone up. In the last year, as we saw in the budget, excise duty collections have gone up in a year when the economy has tanked. So you can understand how much of that is only because more money is being taken from the consumer on the petrol and diesel they're using. Now, another thing that the government likes to say is that, well, you know, okay, maybe we are together charging about 60% of the total retail prices taxes, central and state taxes. But look at the UK. In the UK, it is 63-4%. So what's the big deal? You go to Italy, it is 65%. All these countries also charge a huge amount of tax on the petrol and diesel that people buy. But again, let me just compare. In the UK, you pay about, I'm going to convert it into rupee today. In UK, around this time, you're essentially paying about 123 rupees for a litre of petrol, right? If you use rupee, you would have to pay 123 rupees in UK today. In Delhi, you're paying 89 rupees, okay? Now, so obviously, UK people are paying more, but compare it to the per capita income. Compare it to the per capita income, and let's just take the 2020 IMF projections for per capita income. UK per capita income is more than $39,000 per year, and in India, per capita income is $1,877. That's the differential, right? Okay, people say that is in dollar terms, that doesn't make sense because obviously things are cheaper here. With $39,000, you'd be able to buy many more things than you would be able to buy in the UK. So let's take what is called purchasing power parity dollars, which means that how much can $1 buy in the UK versus how much can $1 buy in India, right? And let's look at that. And if we compare that, then per capita income using purchasing power parity terms in the UK is about $44,300. In India, it is $6,284. Now, if we compare that just PPP terms, then an Indian consumer is paying 5 times more. 5 times more when we adjust for that for the petrol they're buying. Even though in UK petrol is more expensive, almost 50% more expensive, but when we compare to our average income, we are paying 5 times more than the UK consumer is, right? And this is in purchasing power parity terms. If I just use actual dollar terms, right, then the UK Indian consumer is paying 15 times more in nominal terms, in actual dollar terms, 15 times more than the UK consumer compared to their income. Again, let me explain it to you again. I'm not saying that they're paying more in real terms. I'm saying compared to their income, because ultimately what you pay should be compared to your income, your ability to pay. So that is one key reason the government should have given a rebate in this year and not taken more in taxes on fuel.
And in our final story, we look at the situation with vaccines across the world and in the country. Immunologist Dr. Satyajit Rath talks about the global vaccine distribution situation, what returning to normal might look like, and what people across the world need to do in the meantime.
Let's think about it this way. Again, as we've discussed on this weekly update for months now, only part of the answer to this question of yours is in the science and the technology. A large part of it is in the politics. And it's in the politics not simply of capitalist profit-making sector-generated vaccination. Remember that all of these vaccines that are currently out there are private sector, profit-making sector. But it's in addition to that, it's also over the past year become an apparent reality that conservative, xenophobic political ideologies in governments across the world have taken advantage of fear-generated community xenophobias across the world, and therefore vaccine nationalism, and in fact COVID nationalism, has become yet another obstruction, I would argue, to a global community collective response to the pandemic. And in the absence of a coordinated global collective community response to the pandemic, we are going to have fragmentary responses popping up. We are going to have countries pulling at cross purposes with each other. We are going to have these situations of vaccines being returned, or vaccines being demanded. We have the situation that the WHO-sponsored COVAX program to supply vaccines for underprivileged communities across the world, not having enough vaccines as yet being supplied to those programs. In addition to that, we have these variants that are inevitably going to pop up. We have extremely variable variant tracking methodologies in place across the world. And we have stigmatization as a consequence of variants that is going to be prevent travel from the UK, from Brazil, from South Africa, identify those people, lock them up, and so on and so forth. In this extraordinary coordination of capitalism and xenophobia, it's a little hard to make optimistic predictions about how well life for the ordinary people of the world is going to return to normal. It's certainly not going to happen like magic over the next few months. I remind all our listeners that in the last one whole month, India has not vaccinated even 1 crore people. Now, we have heard brave words, and I hope they are real, that we are going to ramp up our vaccination capacity and so on and so forth, and we are going to do better, and therefore by July, we are actually going to achieve 25 crore vaccinations. But I ask all of us, how likely do we think that is? So under those circumstances, over the next few months, let us not live in a fool's paradise of hope. Let us stay with the community norm of physical distancing and masking. Let us acknowledge that the vaccines are safe, because the evidence is that the vaccines are safe, and therefore let us not give in to vaccine anxieties and take vaccine shots as and when they become available, and let us keep pressing our governments for better public health system investment, resources, vaccine rollout, and variant tracking. More than that, we will wait and see.
That's all we have time for today. We'll be back next week with more news from India. Until then, keep watching People's Dispatch.
For more videos on people's struggles, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.